Hello, so welcome to Froggity Frog. So we used to be the Cool Crochet Society and we've had a brand new name change because it's just time and it no longer fits me. So this year's crochet along, well next year's crochet along, 2024, is going to be the FrankenScrap. And so today I want to tell you all about it and how you can get involved and what you need to join into this ugliest scrappiest blanket you've ever did see. So I'm Kelly Thomas. I'm creator and owner here at Froggity Frog. So we used to be the Cool Crochet Society until not very long ago at all. And you may have seen my previous crochet alongs. The 50 Stitches is by far my most popular, and that was my very first one, followed by the Ray of Hope crochet along and the Country Garden crochet along, and that was in 2022. We took a break in 2023, life just went bananas, and so we're back in 2024 with the FrankenScrap. So although I didn't do a crochet along in 2023, I was getting messages from you, my lovely followers, asking if I was going to do one. The answer was no, but then asking if next time I did one, whether it was going to be more like the 50 Stitches. So the last one, the Country Garden, that one was mostly done in a single piece. It had a few other single pieces added on, but by and large it was a single piece blanket. That wasn't as popular as the 50 Stitches. That one was absolutely loved, and it launched my entire business. It launched my entire pattern business because at that point I think I only had 2 or 3 other patterns in my pattern library, and I launched the whole thing off the back of the 50 Stitches, which was absolutely incredible. We ended up with about 5,000 people in the crochet along group in less than 2 months, which is insane when you have no audience. And it was an amazing experience, very overwhelming. I learned a lot. I met a lot of lovely people and gained a fantastic following, and I've kept on doing crochet alongs ever since. But the demand for a project like the 50 Stitches has kept on going, and I keep on being asked for it. So if you haven't seen it, the 50 Stitches was 50 different pieces, 49 squares, plus a mosaic banner that went across the top, all joined together in a nice orderly grid, and each piece was made in a different crochet stitch. Well, the FrankenScrap is similar, in that this time it's made with 53 pieces. It all fits together, except it's not in an orderly grid pattern. It's patchwork. It's scrappy. It looks like it is. It's a scrap blanket. It's made up of scrap yarn that I've just pulled out my stash because my stash was out of control. So that's how the FrankenScrap came about. I was looking for a way to use up all of this scrap yarn that I've got. I had, it's like leftover part balls or one ball left of a particular brand of yarn, all sat there just doing nothing. It wasn't enough to create a project all by itself. I wanted to use it. I didn't want to throw it away. I wanted to use it somehow. And so when the requests kept coming for a project like the 50 Stitches, I thought, okay then, let's do it with scrap yarn. So there is no colour plan to this. It's very scrappy. It's the definition of an ugly blanket. I've used solid colours. I've used multicolours. I've used whatever yarn just pulled out my stash. The only thing this yarn has in common is that it's all the same weight. So I've used a DK weight and I've used cotton. So cotton DK is thinner than acrylic DK. So it's a thin double knit yarn. So if you haven't heard before, DK is short for double knit, which is what is known as here in the UK. If you're in the US, you probably know it as light worsted. I believe it's weight 4, which is what it's also known as. And that's what I've used. So the FrankenScrap fits on top of a double bed. It doesn't fold over the sides. So if you would prefer to use worsted or Aran weight or weight 5, 3 names for one weight, you can use that and it would just fold over the sides. So if you want to go a thicker yarn, it's not going to become oversized, it's not going to be ridiculous, but it will fold over the sides of the double bed, so you can still use that weight yarn. So let's take a closer look at the FrankenScrap, and then I shall tell you all about how you can get involved, when we're starting, and how much yarn we need.
So let's look a bit more closely at the FrankenScrap. So it's a true patchwork blanket in that we have lots of different pieces, all different shapes, sizes, to all fit together in this really random patchwork quilt. And it's all joined together with these stitches that look like Frankenstein's monsters stitches that stitch together. That's how it got its name, the FrankenScrap.
Okay, so the FrankenScrap Crochet Along starts on January 14th, 2024. That's a Sunday. It's because this is a significant date for me. It was the beginning of the change of what caused me to change to Froggity Frog. It's a personal thing. We'll leave it there. But it was a big life-changing thing. And over the past year, I've been getting things back together. And so that's the significant date for me. So the first piece will be released on the 14th of January 2024. After that, we're going to be releasing each piece on Friday, 8 p.m. UK time. So that's every Friday, 8 p.m, you'll receive the next piece of the blanket. Like my 50 stitches, I am running this over most of the year. It's 49 weeks. We're doing 53 pieces plus a border over 49 weeks, which means we finish the entire crochet along on the 13th of December 2024. So you should have it ready in time for Christmas. Enjoy all that hard work. So yes, this is a very long running crochet along. I do it this way because one of the things that I saw mentioned when I was getting ready for my first one was that people couldn't keep up. So regular crochet alongs tend to run over about 10 weeks. And if you're making a double bed size blanket, that's a lot of crochet to do in a short space of time. And if you've got family commitments, you've got your 9-to-5 job, you've got kids running around, it's very difficult to keep up. And what makes crochet along so popular is the community element. It's being able to connect with others who are working on the same project you are. And being part of that community is part of the appeal, well, is a great part of the appeal, because it takes what is usually a solitary hobby and turns it into a group activity that you can bond with other crocheters with. It's a great way to meet new people. It's a great way to make new friends. And being done over 10 weeks and that you can't keep up, many felt disappointed that they couldn't keep up. They felt like they were being left behind and they were missing out on half the conversation because they hadn't done the parts that people were talking about and sharing. So to make that more accessible and so everyone can keep up, I spread my crochet alongs over a very long time. So we're going to be doing this over 49 weeks. It's the best part of a year and it's one piece a week. We're going to have the group. So unlike previous years, I'm not going to have a special group for the FrankenScrap. I'm going to be hosting it in my regular crochet group. That's Froggity Frog's Ribbit and Stitch. The link is under the video. Come join us and we'll be hosting it in there. So in previous years, I've had a special group, but I'm now getting so many groups I can't keep up. So I'm going to host in my regular group, which means that even after the cal is finished, you can still come and ask for help there. And it's still monitored and used because it's my regular group. So I can keep on top of things and I can still help you. Even if you're viewing this in 2 years' time, you can still come to the group and you can still come and ask for help with the FrankenScrap. So there are 53 pieces and each piece is made with a different crochet stitch. So you are creating 53 completely different crochet stitches in this one project. They range from beginner level to advanced level. Now most of them are more beginner level skill. There are some intermediate ones. There's a couple that are definitely more advanced, but don't worry. Every stitch is going to have a picture guide and there will be a video here on YouTube so you can check out to see how it's made as well. And the links to all of this will be posted in the group every week. There are 2 ways you can access the FrankenScrap. You can get the patterns and the videos completely free. They will be on my blog every week. The video will be embedded into the blog, so you can access that or directly through YouTube. If you would prefer the ad-free PDF, and my blog does have ads on it, it's how I pay for all of this and how I can keep doing these projects. If you want the ad-free version, then you can get that on Ravelry. It's available for £5, that's for the entire project, and then each week the new piece will be uploaded into your Ravelry library and you'll get an email telling you how to download the new piece. There you go. So the links to the Ravelry are below, the links to my blog are below, plus the group. And if you want to sign up to email alerts so that you know when it's published on my blog every week, you can sign up to that as well. That will add you to my newsletter, and it means you get updates every week and find out what's happening with Froggity Frog and new releases as well. The link to that is also below the video. Okay, we're getting there. Right, so it's a patchwork blanket. 53 pieces, all in random sizes. It's very random. It's a true patchwork, and you need to know how to plan, right? Don't worry. We have a colouring sheet. So I have a sheet with how each piece fits together with everything else. And if you sign up to email alerts, you can get that downloaded and you'll get it with your first email. If you buy the Ravelry PDF, that is sitting in Ravelry waiting for you to download now. I will also be adding how much yarn you need for each piece. I will not be giving away which crochet stitches we're doing. That is going to be a surprise each week and you'll find out on release. But you can see how the layout looks, so you can get planning, and you will have how much yarn you need for each piece, so you can plan that through your stash. So I would definitely encourage you to do this as a scrap project as well, because it's a great way to clear out all that scrappy bits of yarn that you don't know what to do with. I'll tell you something though, my yarn hoard is that bad. I've made this double blanket with my scrap yarn and I still have an overflowing yarn hoard. It's a problem. So I think there's going to be more stash busting projects on the way after FrankenScrap, because I really need to get this under control. That's a whole other issue. Okay, so what do we need? So in total, you need 4,500 yards of yarn. That's double knit, light worsted, and 4,500 yards of it in total for the entire blanket, for all your squares, for your joining, for your border. That's all in. If you prefer yardage, if I remember this right, 4,921 yards of yarn are needed. We're going to be using a 4mm hook. That's for all the pieces. Now this does mean that we're going to have to keep an eye on tension, because different crochet stitches can work up slightly differently, and if you're not great with tension, you're going to have issues. But don't worry, you just need to change your your hook size. Be flexible with your hook size and you're going to get there. So I've made it so the first two pieces are the same width, and so you can get to gauge your tension and if you're going to need up or down a hook size for certain stitches. But don't worry, all this will be explained each week when it's released. So those where your tension may be tighter, I'm going to make sure you know about that. And for pieces where your tension may turn out looser, I'll tell you about that as well. So just be aware that you may need to change your hook size to be able to keep control of your tension and make sure the sizing turns out great. Gauge is on this pattern, so you can keep an eye on it yourself. But it's just something to be aware of when we're doing this, because there are so many different stitches involved. It is something to be aware of. But if you're using acrylic yarn, then that has stretch to it. If you're using cotton, it has far less stretch. So that's something that can help you as well. So if you want to know what yarns I used, some of them I don't have a clue. I'll be honest, some of these yarns lost their labels. But for a lot of it I do know. Some yarns have been discontinued, they've been sat in my stash for that long. But where I can, I am going to tell you what yarns I've used, and I will be releasing a list of the most popular yarns that I used shortly. That'll be going out through the email and in the group as well. And so if you do spot something in my squares that you like the look of, you'll be able to get your hands on it because I'll let you know how to get hold of it as well. If you have any questions about the FrankenScrap, you can make a comment on this video and I'll get back to you. Or come over to the Facebook group and ask away there. There's probably so much more I could tell you about FrankenScrap. But let me show you some more pictures of it. I am so excited about this because although it's a very ugly blanket, I absolutely love it. I love how it all came together. It's a blanket that shouldn't be. You know, it's got so many different yarns in it, so many different stitches, everything's such a different size, and that's how the name came about. It's a bit like Frankenstein's monster. Who knows why it came to existence? It shouldn't. It's ugly, but what a creation it's turned out to be. And the reaction so far to my group who've already seen pictures of FrankenScrap has been fantastic. So I really, really hope you enjoy this project. I hope you come and join us for the crochet along, and as we get started on January 14th. But come over to the group now because we of course will be building up, and if you can meet your fellow crocheters who will also be joining in FrankenScrap and get all the information of it and ask any questions that you still have. So thank you for listening today, and I can't wait to get started with FrankenScrap, and I really, really hope you enjoy making it as much as I enjoy creating it. So I will see you on January 14th, and until then, here's some more FrankenScrap to enjoy.